Herb,
Present.
Councillor Nowak, Councillor Kiefer,
Here.
Councillor Armstrong,
Present.
Councillor Harris,
Here.
Councillor Shantz,
Here.
Councillor Strickland,
Here.
Councillor Foxton,
Present.
Councillor Galloway,
Present.
and we have regrets from Councillor McGarry. Thank you, Chair.
I don't know that you called my name, did you?
Yeah, I called your name. And
Sorry, missed it.
No problem.
I would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather virtually today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. What I have learned in working with Indigenous people is that our relationship with the land should be one of stewardship and not ownership, and I am honored to make this journey with them. Before we start our meeting, I would like to acknowledge that with great sadness we reflect on the indelible impact and legacy of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. For 70 years, Queen Elizabeth has guided Canada not merely through office and ceremony, but through her compassion and unwavering commitment to public service. She loved our country. Queen Elizabeth was a role model for generations of leaders, both global and local. She balanced strong, decisive leadership through authentic humility and personal warmth. Her example and early accession to the public spotlight have inspired countless women to positions of leadership. While everybody observed her funeral earlier this week, this is the first time we've come together in order to mark the passing of a truly great player on the world stage. So I would ask you all to please rise if you're able, and we will observe a moment of silence at the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. Thank you. You may be seated. So, colleagues, before we entertain a motion to reconvene in open session, I want to let the public know that a motion to go into close was amended to add an additional item on a personnel matters with an identifiable individual. And I would now entertain a motion to reconvene in open session. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Harris. Please use your icons to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. We are now reconvened in open session. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none, I would now call on Dr. Shuli Wong, Commissioner of Public Health and Emergency Services, and Jesse Johal, Director of Infectious Disease, Chief Nursing Officer, to provide a COVID update. Welcome, and Dr. Wong, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity for Jesse and I to present brief updates on the COVID-19 situation and the vaccine rollout. So we'll start with me. Next slide, please. Okay. So starting with COVID-19, we are in the downward phase of the 7th wave, but the descent continues to be very slow and fluctuating. Our wastewater signals, along with outbreak and hospitalization data, indicate that COVID-19 continues to circulate at fairly elevated levels still in our community. We are also looking ahead to the upcoming fall and winter respiratory season. For that reason, we are focused on making the new bivalent vaccine available, first to those most at risk, then for the general population. Jesse Johal will be providing an update on this later on. Next slide, please. Ontario is expecting an additional wave or waves of COVID-19 this fall and winter during the respiratory season, when the circulation of COVID-19, influenza, and other respiratory viruses is expected to be high. The best thing for all of us to do is to get our booster dose this fall or winter when we become eligible for it. For most people, this is 6 months after our last dose or a COVID-19 infection. If you were recently boosted before the availability of the new bivalent vaccine, you also received a strong boost of protection against the severe impacts of COVID-19. This will help protect you until you become eligible for the fall or winter bivalent booster. The best strategy continues to be staying up to date with the recommended number of doses or boosters. Thank you. Last slide, please. Just a quick update on the monkeypox situation. We are now up to 4 cases of monkeypox locally. However, no cases have been reported in the month of September so far. There has been an overall decrease in the number of infections in the province, most of which were in the Toronto area. And we continue to provide vaccination clinics at our regional offices in Cambridge and Waterloo. Thank you. That's it for my update, and I'll pass it over to Jessie Johol now.
Welcome, Jessie.
Thank you, Chair Redmond, and good evening, councillors. Thank you, Dr. Wong, for the introduction. As mentioned by Dr. Wong last week, on September 12th, the province announced the eligibility for the bivalent for specific priority groups. And we have focused our efforts to ensure that the highest risk settings, such as long-term care, retirement homes, and other congregate living settings, have support to provide immunizations to the most vulnerable populations. So working with our community, we have completed immunization for eligible residents and staff, 76% of the long-term care, retirement homes, and congregate living settings. And we will continue to work with the remaining facilities to ensure that most vulnerable populations have access, excuse me, to the bivalent booster. At the same time, those other priority populations that are living in the community, we have also offered clinics and mobile community clinics and provided immunizations to close to 800 residents. We have seen a slight decrease uptake of this within this group. We have noted about 20% of these appointments that we had opened up for this group have remained unbooked during this time. Last week, the province also shared that the eligibility for the bivalent booster will be open to all 18 years old individuals and older on September 26th. We are anticipating initial large surge in demand, and to meet this initial surge in demand, we'll be offering a mass immunization clinic at Pine Bush location. We had previously used this location starting September 26th. The clinic will be open 7 days a week, and the hours will be 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we will have extended hours in the evenings on Wednesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 8:30 p.m. To promote access to all individuals working different times and having different schedules. And we're anticipating that we will have about 7,500 to 8,000 appointments per week via this mechanism. Additionally, we'll continue to offer immunizations, bivalent immunizations at 99 Regina Street South Office, as well as mobile outreach to rural areas as well as our community partners. Also, we will offer the continue to offer the AO clinic and other locations utilizing our partnership with GoVax Bus. We are intending to open the appointments on September 26th, and we will assess the demand and adjust accordingly as to if we should offer more at the mass immunization clinic or to move out more into the community hubs. If available, we will offer co-administration of flu vaccine at the bivalent booster clinics. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the update, Dr. Wong and Jesse. And Councillor Kiefer, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Wong, and thank you, Jesse. You actually answered my question on the Pine Bush Road facility. I would like to know, though, what the easiest way for the public to book an appointment there would be to do what? For Pine Bush, I'm talking.
I can go first. Sounds
good, Jesse.
Thank you. We are utilizing the provincial booking system for the first 2 weeks, as I mentioned. It is open to all to book online. There is also a phone number that residents can call if they have difficulty utilizing the online platform. So all this information is on our website as well and linked to all the sites that will be offering the clinics, but it will read through the provincial booking system.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Lawrence, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Dr. Wong and Jesse. Thank you very much for the updates. The question I have is, I think you mentioned it, Dr. Wong, that you have to wait 6 months before your next booster. Is that correct?
That's the recommended interval. You can receive a booster at a minimum of 3 months after your last dose, but it's recommended to wait 6 months because that will likely increase the strength of the response from the booster.
Right. So would we be turning people down if they say they were in 5.5 months?
No, they can get it as long as it's been 3 months. That's the minimum interval.
Okay.
With informed consent. Now, for the first couple of weeks, because we do anticipate increased demand, we are going to ask people to book appointments. And if they are booking an appointment that is shorter than the recommended 6 months, then they're asked to use the telephone line so they can get an appointment earlier. So between 3 months and 6 months, they're asked to call the provincial line to book. After the first couple of weeks, we will reassess, and if we are able to, we will open it to walk-ins. And people will not be turned away as long as they understand that they can receive it after a minimum of 3 months, but it's recommended to wait until 6 months.
So I'm sorry, I missed that about the walk-ins. Eventually we're going to have walk-ins?
Yes, eventually when we anticipate the demand will not be as significant, we would revert to walk-ins to increase convenience and accessibility for our residents.
And I'm going to take a page out of my colleague, Councillor Kiefer's playbook. Are you opening up any other locations in Kitchener or Waterloo, or will it only be Pine Bush?
Jesse, you want to talk about what's already available? Yes. Pine Bush will be in addition to what's currently available.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Yes, that's correct. We have a fixed site at 99 Regina Street, so we are enhancing the capacity there. As I mentioned, we will have community hubs in Ayr, Lamont, and the other townships as well. For the first week, those are the 2 locations that I'm aware of. But we are planning to do community outreach out to the rural areas as well. In addition to that, the Vax bus will be at the central location in Kitchener. That's what we're planning. So the intent is that there will be a few options for residents to choose from as to where they're living from an accessibility point of view.
But we're not having any other large facilities in Kitchener or in Waterloo.
I think with the current capacity that we have, and with addition to this one site, we should be able to meet the demand adequately.
I'll just add that pharmacies as well as primary care will also be delivering the vaccine or have it as available for residents.
So the last point that Jeff was we should be able to meet the demand. What kind of criteria are you looking at that, you know, the majority of the residents in the region live in Kitchener and Waterloo. So we're not having anything else in Kitchener, Waterloo, the size, I guess it was at the boardwalk before, but is there no other locations, or is it just going to be for a large facility, just Pine Bush?
Yes, in terms of a large facility, Councillor Lorenz, it will be Pine Bush. We felt that it was most important to ensure that there is an adequate balance between large or larger sites. Like there's a Pine Bush site. There's also the other sites that Jesse maintained, and the important mobile program that we have going out to areas in our community which tend to have some more accessibility issues. We found that throughout this vaccination campaign and throughout the months we've had it ongoing, that's been a very effective way to reach the people that most need it. And so in order to ensure that there's sufficient staff for those for those mobile, outreach initiatives, we felt that we would be able to meet demand with the current fixed site we have, with the addition of Pine Bush, and that we wouldn't need to open additional mass sites. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Councillor Jowett, please go ahead.
Yes, thanks. I just wanted to ask the question, maybe it might bring some clarity to sort of the conversation we're having right now, is did Rona not offer us the space at either a very discounted rate or free? And that's sort of one of the reasons why we located there. So it was not a slight for our wonderful Kitchener partners. It was just an offer that was sort of quite helpful. And the large scale, according to the conversations I had with Wendy, were that large scale operation worked very effectively and efficiently, and they had it down to a fine art, from what I understand. Are those factors that I understand to be the case?
Yes, those factors that you mentioned are accurate, Councillor Jowett.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wong.
So I see no further questions. I just really want to compliment public health, Jesse in particular, and you, Dr. Wong, for being able to ramp up so quickly. I think the partnership we have with pharmacies and with primary care doctors have served us well in the past and will continue to, but it was turning on a dime to ramp back up. So thank you very much on behalf of the 630,000 people who live in Waterloo region.
Thank you.
I see no further questions. There are no petitions. We have one delegation who is registered but is no longer able to appear tonight. Their written submission was included in the addendum agenda package, and that was an intervention by Rodney Reyes, Development Manager, and Kyle Bittman, VP for Planning and Development, Valour Group. We do, however, have a delegation who registered and will have 3 minutes, and it's Denis Julien Gendron in Vitalize Incorporated. So, Mr. Gendron, apparently you were with us and you are no longer, so if you're able to link back in, we will circle back. The next agenda item are minutes of the previous meetings, and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meetings as listed, 9.1 through 9.7. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Kiefer, seconded by Councillor Foxton. Please use your icons to vote yes or no. That is carried, colleagues. The next agenda item 10.1 is the Council Information Package, September 16th, 2022. This was distributed electronically. It is for information. Are there any items anyone would like to highlight at this point in time or have any questions on? Seeing none, I'd now entertain a motion to go into Committee of the Whole to consider reports. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Nowak. Please use your yes or no buttons to vote on going into Committee of the Whole. That is carried. The next agenda item are reports. 12.1 is the Finance Report. It's 12.1.1. And it deals with temporary airport terminal building expansion, region of Waterloo International Airport. If I could have a mover and a seconder.
It's my turn to speak. Give me 3 minutes. I have 2 minutes to speak.
Moved by Councillor Erb, seconded by Councillor Rentz. Does staff want to make any comments at this point in time? Rod, would you like to comment on why this is before us at this point in time?
Yes, thank you. As council is aware, the renovations to Waterloo Region International Airport have been ongoing, and there have been a variety of decisions made with regard to space for the Canada Border Services Agency with regard to changes in the design for the baggage handling systems, etc., that have required us to keep our design and project management consultants on for some additional work. This report deals with the cost of that additional work. It's the total value does not exceed the budgeted amount, which council has already approved for the project. And I would just note that these figures bring the cost of contract management design, architectural design, and so on to under 5% of the total capital budget cost, which is quite low from our experience. So.
Thank you, Mr. Regier. I see Councillor Galloway. You have a question or a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. It's not so much in regards to the project or the request, but it has to do with the financial implications that were included in the report. And the financial implications, and I don't have them in front of me, I'm working on memory here, had to do with the broader capital improvements that are occurring at the airport. And included in that, I think there was some 42% of the value of those airport improvements was coming from debentures supported by property taxes. And I'm wondering, Mr. Dyer, if that's old information, because my understanding is that the subsidy, the property tax subsidy for the airport, which in the master course is not to go above $26 per house, has actually been reduced significantly to something as low as $6 per household, and then is going back up again to a higher number, but certainly still much below the $26 per household. And that has a lot to do with the airport improvement fees that we are receiving from all the passengers that are now going through our facility. So I guess the financial implications part of this report caught me a little bit by surprise as to the proportionment of how we're paying for all these airport improvements.
Craig, would you like to respond?
Yes, certainly, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question. So the financial implications in the report are specific to the capital project itself. So the costs associated with the consultant form part of the overall capital costs, and what we've showed in financial implications is an overview of how the project as a whole is being funded. So to your point, Councillor Galloway, a portion of the capital costs will be financed through the issuance of long-term debt, and that long-term debt in turn is recovered in part from development charges and in part from the property tax levy. And so this is then the connection to the cost per household. The property taxes that are funded by the levy come into the following year's budget and remain there for the duration of the debenture, and are an operating cost within the airport budget. On the revenue side, in the airport budget, we have a number of different revenue sources, one of which is the passenger facilitation fee. And when we take all of the operating costs and all of the net of all the non-property tax revenues, then there's a levy component that forms the cost per household that you referred to. So the financial implications was specific to the financing of the capital costs. You're absolutely correct, though. The facilitation fee does come into play in terms of the overall operating cost. I hope that helps.
Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to do is understand the overall impact. So the capital costs are and they're substantial with the various improvements that we're making. Continue to be supported in the original plan, so to speak, but it's the operating costs that are now being heavily subsidized by the passenger fees. The passenger fees are not finding their way into the capital program so much as they're finding their way into the operating costs.
Right, but we would also say that included in the operating costs is a component of capital financing. So I can see your point. You know, you could take the position that offsetting some of these capital costs are revenues that we are collecting. Like I can see that. I think again, for the purposes of this report, we were truly just focused on how the overall capital project was funded. But I take your point, and we can look for ways of perhaps presenting that in a clearer way in the future.
I think maybe that would be prudent, because what I'm trying to deal with are sentiment in the community where we're spending money on this and we're not spending money on something else. Well, the fact of the matter is we can't spend airport passenger fees on anything else but the airport. So, and I don't think the way we have it kind of calculated supports that notion. But anyways, I'll leave it with you.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. I see no more hands, so it's been moved and seconded, and I would ask you to use your icons to vote, and this is to add an additional $369,940 plus applicable taxes for to go towards the renovation of the airport, and I've talked long enough. It's passed. Thank you. Colleagues, our delegation is here, but I'm going to finish with committee reports before I go to him. So the next report is 12.2, and it is Planning and Works Committee Summary, September 6, 2022. And I'm now asking for a vote to approve the summary, and this includes water and wastewater monitoring report summarized in TES-WAS-22-013 dated September 6th. If I could have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Clark. Councillor Galloway, do you have a question?
Well, Madam Chair, I'm just wondering, and maybe I have this wrong, but the delegation, is he speaking to one of those matters?
No, he's not.
Not speaking to one of those matters? And are, again, I don't have it in front of me, but is the decision on the condominium matter in air part of this report?
It is not part of this report.
Okay, thank you.
So it's been moved and seconded. If you use your icons to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. Next is 12.2.2, Administration and Finance Committee Summary, September 6, 2022, and this is dealing with taking no action with respect to Child Witness Center's request for $50,000 dated September 6th, and the Regional Council advocate to the Ministry of the Attorney General for an increase in funding to allow the Child Witness Center to address the backlog of individuals needing support. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Jowett, seconded by Councillor Foxton. I see no questions. If you'd please use your icons to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. I would now like to welcome Denny Julian Gendron, in Vitalize Incorporated. Denny, you have 3 minutes. Welcome.
Oh, hello. My name is Denis Gendron. I'm an entrepreneur in Kitchener, Waterloo. The vision of our intervention is over the last 7 years, we developed research and developed the of chronic illnesses. My origin is I was director of R&D after my PhD in Waterloo in 97. I was director of R&D for Medical Laser, Clarion, Coherent, and for 2 years. And I started up a company for developing custom solution for light therapy and other application. And over the last 7 years, I devote all my time on that. And as you must have heard of phototherapy at the Caro, well, I bring it a few notch. Excuse my French accent when I'm nervous on that trip. Okay, but the big idea is this: I've demonstrated a tremendous progress that have led me over the last month to show reversal of diabetes. Being an atomic and molecular scientist, a physicist, I'm not afraid of detail. And so I spent a lot of time studying the etiology and epidemiology of chronic illnesses. And I found that one of the strongest support for strengthening immunity is to reinforce the neurological system, because in there is a strengthening of the immune system, serotonin platelet system, have a strong contribution to improve cardiovascular system. So in a nutshell, what I have achieved at clinical lab is I've seen a reversal of diabetes on the assumption that you can reverse the cardiovascular cause of it, because diabetes can be explained. We all know type 2 diabetes can be reversed. And the US, Neil Bernard, make a good living with this. And this technique of plant-based, it takes 3 to 6 months. I speed it up with optimized, very safe light therapy, and bring it out to 1 to 2 months. And concurrently, and there is a very famous businessman, which I keep anonymous, who helped me to prove it on his own body. He was diabetes for 10 years, obese for overweight for 20 years. And we saw is the blood pressure, obesity reduced at 1.5 pounds per day. I did another 2 pounds per day, weight loss. Hypertension goes from hypertensive to pre-hypertensive in 3 weeks to normal blood pressure, and the diabetic to pre-diabetic to no diabetic in about 6 to 8 weeks. We have seen that. So I want to propose, and I've calculated and I modeled that it's cheaper to rehabilitate the diabetes and to bring people from obesity, hypertensive, and overweight back to normal weight than to treat them with chemical and give them vaccine forever. If people are fit, and I'm 60 years old and I'm as powerful as my 16-year-old boy, and you can measure us up. And I was overweight and fat when I was 40 and 50. And what I did, I focus on health because I start my family late and had my first kid at 40, my last one at 50. I might go for another one at 60 because I feel better than when I was 40. Okay. What I'm saying is this, I get something really powerful and it can save you a whole lot of money. And if you give me half an hour, I can show you how I can reduce the cost of healthcare for most chronic illnesses by 60%.
So, Mr.
But the
Jean-Paul,
healthcare will not support us. Because the pharma don't like us, and the doctor will lose 30% to 40% of their job. So, despite the good intention, $400,000 is a hard things to kiss goodbye. So they're not going to be very supportive.
I'm sorry, we don't have half an hour, and you've used up your 3 minutes.
Okay.
So if you want to make one statement to conclude, that would be great.
I have a 1.5 million project where I seek 250 for the region, 250 from each city, and I get 250 from private business, 250 for me, 1.5 million, 12 months. I can prove on 100 patients that you're going to make $500,000 in profit out of those 250 investment, and you have the option to own the rehabilitation clinic like you own Sunnyside. Okay, so you could make over the course of 5 years $500 million if you will replace diabetes, insulin, and further surgery and miserable lifestyle into happy quality of life. It's something I would like to encourage you to give me half an hour, and a non-medical, non-pharma, non-vaccine-oriented person who wants to give a care time of the day, because we're going to use plant-based by the farmer to create an industry of machine building and of plant-based.
So, Mr. Gendron, that's probably the longest concluding statement on record. So thank you very much for your enthusiasm. The clerk will follow up with you. It might be something that you'd want to talk to the Ministry of Health about. Our purview is
no. The Ministry of Health will never support this stuff because she is not into this. I can tell you, I did my analysis. I've been talking to tens, if not 20 academic. The Ministry of Health is pro-pharma, and there's an equation where they are actually benefiting from this in a big...
So, Mr. Gendron, thank you very much. I see no questions of the delegation, so again, clerks will follow up with you, and thank you for your intervention. The next agenda item, colleagues, is Chief Administrative Officer's report, and there is none. I have no report. Does the clerk have a report? Not at this time. Other matters under a committee of the whole, a motion for the committee of whole to rise and council to resume. I have Councillor Kiefer moving it. Councillor Galloway seconding it. Please use your icons to vote yes or no. The committee of whole has now risen and council will resume. That is carried. A motion to adopt the proceedings of the committee of the whole. If I could have a mover, Councillor Nowak, Councillor Jowett seconding it. Please use your icons to vote yes or no. Colleagues, that is carried. We have no motions, no notices of motion, no unfinished business. Other business? Any questions? I'll now entertain a motion to enact the bylaws first, second, and third readings. This is bylaw 22-043. If I could have a mover. Moved by Councillor Vrvanovich, seconded by Councillor Shantz. Please use your icons to vote. That is carried, colleagues. I would now entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Strickland. Please use your icons to vote yes or no. Thank you, colleagues. Great meeting. Enjoy your evening.